What if the secret to a truly abundant, thriving garden wasn't found in a flashy bag at the garden center, but in the forgotten corners of your home, your kitchen, and the natural world around you? Welcome to the world of strange fertilizers. These are the old-school, often free amendments that our grandparents and generations of growers before them used to build deep, resilient soil fertility. With these, you'll be more than able to grow more food with less effort and close the loop on waste in the most satisfying way. So, let's dig into 30 of the most wonderfully weird soil amendments that will transform your garden from a high-maintenance chore into a low-effort, high-yield paradise. Human hair. It might seem strange, even slightly macabre, but your monthly haircut is a potential goldmine for your garden. Human hair is composed of a tough protein called keratin, which is rich in nitrogen, the very element that fuels lush, green, leafy growth in plants like lettuce, spinach, and cabbage. Now, let's delve a little deeper into the science. Keratin is a remarkably stable protein, which is why hair can take a long time to break down in a landfill. However, in the soil, it's a feast for a specific group of microbes known as keratinocytes. These microorganisms specialize in breaking down tough proteins, and in doing so, they not only release nitrogen, but also help to build stable soil organic matter. So, instead of sending those clippings to the landfill, sprinkle them around the base of your plants or work them lightly into the soil. As the hair slowly decomposes over a season or two, it provides a gentle, steady feed of nitrogen. It also has the curious side effect of deterring deer who dislike the human scent, and can even help with soil moisture retention when used as a surface mulch. While hair feeds the soil slowly, our next fertilizer is a classic that delivers its nutrients in a much more immediate package, straight from the hutch. Rabbit droppings. If you've ever been hesitant about using manure for fear of burning your plants, well, do I have just the perfect option for you? Rabbit pellets can be your garden's new best friend. Unlike the hot manures from chickens, horses, and cows, which need to be composted for months, rabbit manure is considered a cold manure. This means it can be added directly to the garden without the risk of harming your plants. What's even better is that it isn't just gentle, it's a powerhouse. The reason rabbit manure is so garden-ready lies in the rabbit's digestive system. Rabbits are herbivores with a highly efficient but single-pass digestive system. They produce two types of droppings, the hard, dry pellets you see, and soft, nutrient-rich secatropes, which they re-ingest for further nutrient extraction. The pellets that are left behind have already passed through the gut, but their structure means they break down slowly and gently without generating the heat that can damage plant roots. For the absolute best results, you can still compost them. This bunny gold is a legendary soil builder among serious organic growers. Speaking of direct application, if you're a fan of fresh-caught fish, don't let the leftovers go to waste. The garden is calling for them. Fish guts and heads. Before bottled fish emulsion took over, gardeners would bury the leftovers from their catch directly in the garden. This practice, often called the fish fertilizer burial, is one of the most potent ways to give your plants a long-term nutrient boost. A fish head, or a collection of guts and bones, buried at the bottom of a planting hole for a heavy feeder like a tomato or pepper plant, acts as a time-release capsule of nutrients. As it decomposes, it releases not only nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium, but also a wealth of trace minerals. How about a few pro tips for success? For starters, bury the fish remains deep, at least 12 to 18 inches down, and place them a few inches below where the root ball of your seedling will sit. This prevents the smell from attracting scavengers like raccoons, skunks, and neighborhood cats. Plus, you can speed up the initial decomposition by chopping the head and guts into smaller pieces. After a proper fishy feast, your soil might need a little balancing act. Luckily, we have just the perfect solution to that. Wood ash. It's all about making full use of your leftovers, and believe it or not, but even the byproduct from a cozy winter fire has a place in your home garden. Those ashes from your fireplace or wood stove are a valuable source of potassium carbonate, a crucial nutrient for overall plant health, disease resistance, and fruit production. Potassium is particularly beloved by fruiting plants like tomatoes and peppers. Wood ash also acts as a liming agent, raising the pH of acidic soils. A light dusting in the spring can sweeten your soil, making nutrients more available. But a word of caution, use it sparingly and never around acid-loving plants like blueberries or azaleas. A little goes a long way. Understanding the chemistry is key to using wood ash effectively. The liming effect of wood ash comes from its calcium carbonate content, which is similar to that of agricultural lime, but about half as strong. However, it's also far more soluble, meaning it can change your soil pH more rapidly. This is why a soil test is highly recommended before widespread application. A general rule is to apply no more than 10 to 15 pounds per 1,000 square feet per year. If wood ash is the solid fuel, our next entry is a liquid lightning bolt that supercharges the whole garden, just like that. Manure tea. Why wait for manure to break down in a compost pile when you can make a potent, fast-acting tea? Think of manure tea as a nutrient-rich soup made by steeping well-aged manure in water. This is the ultimate less-work fertilizer. Why? Well, because it delivers nutrients directly to the plant roots in an absorbable form. The goal is to create an aerobic compost tea. By steeping the manure in a porous bag, you allow the beneficial microbes and water-soluble nutrients to leach out without concentrating the solid matter, which can clog watering cans. The well-aged part is non-negotiable. Fresh manure can contain high levels of ammonia and pathogenic bacteria like E. coli, which you do not want to be spraying on your lettuce. Properly composted manure has cured for at least 6 months, allowing these compounds to break down and the harmful bacteria to die off. To make it, simply place a shovelful of well-aged manure, chicken, cow, or horse, into a burlap sack or pillowcase, tie it shut, and steep it in a large bucket of water for 24 to 48 hours. The resulting dark liquid can be diluted until it looks like weak tea and used to water your plants. Now, let's talk about a material that breaks down so slowly, it's the definition of a really long-term garden investment. And it's hiding in your closet this entire time. Cue in. Old leather boots, the slowest release fertilizer of all. Got a pair of leather boots or a belt that's seen better days? Don't throw them out. Plant them. Well, not exactly, but if you bury an old leather item near a fruit tree or a perennial bed, it will act as a super slow-release nitrogen source. How about a little science lesson? Leather contains nitrogen and minerals beneficial for soil fauna, creating a healthy growing environment. The key to understanding leather as a fertilizer is the tanning process. Historically, leather was tanned using vegetable tannins from tree bark, a completely natural process. Modern leather, however, is often tanned using chromium salts, chrome tanning. Chromium tanned leather should not be used in the garden, as chromium can be toxic to plants and soil life in high concentrations. Well, how can you tell? Vegetable tanned leather is typically thicker, firmer, and often used for high-quality shoes, belts, and saddlery. It will often be labeled as such. Chrome tanned leather is more common, softer, and used for most clothing and upholstery. When in doubt, it's best to err on the side of caution and only use leather you are certain is vegetable tanned. For a safer, faster approach, shredding the leather is the way to go. Shred boots finely before composting to speed decomposition. As the leather decomposes over years, it feeds the soil microbes and releases its nutrients. Think of it as a trust fund for your tree's future. Feathers and poultry waste. Feathers, whether from a plucked chicken or an old down pillow, are almost pure keratin, just like human hair. This makes them an excellent, slow-release nitrogen source. Chopped or crushed feathers can be added to your compost pile or buried in garden beds to break down over a season. Feathers are a fantastic way to balance a carbon-heavy compost pile. If you find yourself with a lot of dried leaves, straw, or cardboard, adding a bag of feathers is a perfect way to add a slow-burning nitrogen source that will keep the compost cooking for a long time. The nitrogen content of feathers is remarkably high, around 12 to 15%, but because of the keratin, it releases over 1 to 2 years. When combined with poultry manure, which is very high in nitrogen, you have a formidable duo. Because poultry manure is hot, it's best composted first, but once aged, it's one of the most potent fertilizers you can get your hands on. Adding these to compost piles diversifies nutrient sources, aiding soil vitality. From the coop, we look up to the chimney, where another seemingly worthless waste product is waiting to be put to work. Soot from chimneys. Before the era of coal, chimney soot from wood-burning fires was a valuable garden amendment. While not widely used, small amounts of soot can add trace minerals and carbon to soil. This fine black powder is rich in potash and can also help to darken the soil, allowing it to warm up faster in the spring. A light sprinkling worked into the soil can benefit a wide range of plants. A little note of warning, though. Be absolutely certain the soot is from untreated, clean wood only. Use it sparingly, as it can be alkaline, and always wear a mask when handling it. However, the warnings cannot be overstated. Modern soot from mixed fuel fires or from burning treated wood, coal, or garbage is a toxic cocktail of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, heavy metals, and dioxins. So yeah, you must be 100% certain of the source. Even then, it should be used in very small quantities. A light dusting over a fallow bed in the late autumn, worked in and allowed to weather over the winter, is a safe way to utilize this ancient amendment. It's a relic of a bygone era, but for those with a clean wood-burning source, it remains a curious and free soil supplement. Milk or sour milk. Nothing feels like a bigger kitchen fail than pouring out a brand new carton of milk that you just knew you were going to finish. That sigh of frustration as you watch your money and your grocery planning go down the drain, literally and figuratively, is a feeling we all know well. But what if I told you that sour milk isn't a failure, but a promotion? It has just graduated from a kitchen staple to a powerful, calcium-rich elixir for your garden. Milk, whether fresh or otherwise, is a fantastic source of calcium, which is crucial for preventing disorders like blossom end rot in tomatoes and peppers. The science behind milk as a fertilizer and fungicide is more robust than you might think. Studies, including some from universities, have shown that milk can be an effective preventative for powdery mildew on squash and cucumbers. The milk proteins, when exposed to sunlight, produce a brief antiseptic effect that can suppress the fungal spores. So, dilute plain milk or sour milk with water. A 50-50 mix works well, and use it to water your plants. The calcium is readily available, and the sugars in the milk can feed beneficial soil microbes. It's a perfect way to reduce waste and boost plant health simultaneously. Comfrey slurry. Are you familiar with comfrey? Well, not many people are, but this plant is lauded as a gardener's best friend for a reason, and you're about to find out why. The comfrey's deep taproots mine minerals from the subsoil that are unavailable to other plants. The large, hairy leaves are packed with nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. All these make it a great fertilizer option. To make a comfrey slurry, chop up a bunch of leaves, stuff them into a bucket, weigh them down with a brick, and cover with a lid. In a few weeks, you'll have a foul-smelling but incredibly potent liquid fertilizer. Just spray or drench plants with it every couple of weeks. There are two main methods for harnessing comfrey. The slurry method, described above, is essentially an anaerobic fermentation. It's fast and effective, but the smell is notoriously putrid, often compared to rotting flesh. A more pleasant method is to make a comfrey tea by stuffing leaves into a bucket with a tap at the bottom. A word of caution: comfrey is a vigorous perennial that can be hard to eradicate once established, so plant it in a dedicated corner or a container. Comfrey pulls nutrients from deep underground, but our next item is all about harvesting fertility from the forest floor itself. Rotten logs and forest litter. Want to build soil that retains moisture like a sponge and is teeming with life? Look no further than the forest. Rotten wood, particularly from hardwoods, is a fantastic habitat for beneficial fungi and holds a tremendous amount of water. Using chunks of rotten logs or a mixture of fallen leaves, twigs, and moss as a mulch or as a component in your garden beds introduces a whole new biological workforce. This fungal-dominated system is perfect for perennial plants, shrubs, and trees, creating a resilient, self-fertilizing environment. In a forest, no one tills the soil or adds fertilizer. Fertility is built from the top down as leaves, twigs, and fallen trees decompose on the surface. This creates a fungal-rich environment. Most of our vegetable plants thrive in a bacterially dominated soil, but trees, shrubs, and perennials like asparagus and raspberries prefer a fungally dominated soil. By incorporating rotten wood and leaf litter, you're inoculating your garden with mycorrhizal fungi. It's a perfect partnership. When building a new perennial bed, lay a foundation of rotten logs, cover with upside-down sod or cardboard, and then top with soil and compost. The logs will act as a moisture reservoir for years, slowly releasing nutrients as they continue to decay. And what's better is that you can find this fertilizer option right in your breakfast trash. We're talking about crushed eggshells. Those eggshells you're tossing out are a slow and steady source of calcium. Simply rinse them, let them dry, and crush them into a powder or small pieces. Work them into the soil around plants to gradually improve calcium levels. But here's the twist. They also have a second, even more brilliant function: a physical barrier against slugs and snails. A sharp, gritty ring of crushed eggshells around tender seedlings like lettuce is often enough to deter these slimy pests. This means no store-bought fertilizers and no chemical pesticides that might harm your plants. To maximize the benefits of eggshells, understanding their decomposition is key. Eggshells are about 94% calcium carbonate. For plants to access this calcium, the shells must be broken down by soil acids and microbes. This is a very slow process. To speed it up, you can bake your cleaned, dried eggshells in an oven at a low temperature for about 10 minutes to make them brittle, and then pulverize them into a fine powder in a blender or coffee grinder. This powder will break down much faster and can be mixed directly into planting holes for tomatoes and peppers. Next up is a strange fertilizer option that's not for the squeamish: blood from slaughter. This is as direct and primal as fertilizer options get. Blood meal, which you can buy in a bag, is simply dried, powdered blood from animal processing. This is one of the highest non-synthetic sources of nitrogen available. However, if you have access to fresh blood from butchering, it can be diluted heavily with water, at least 10 parts water to 1 part blood, and used as an incredibly powerful liquid fertilizer to green up plants fast. It's a high nitrogen soil amendment, stimulating leafy growth and enriching microbial life. It's intense, so use it judiciously to avoid burning plants. The power of blood fertilizer is immense, and so is the need for caution. Blood meal typically has an NPK of around 1200, making it one of the most concentrated organic nitrogen sources available. A little goes a very long way. Over-application can burn plants with excessive nitrogen, causing leaf scorch and stunted growth. It can also make your garden a magnet for carnivorous scavengers like dogs, raccoons, and possums. Where there's blood, there are often bones, and they offer a different but equally vital set of nutrients for your garden. Ground bones. While blood gives plants a rapid burst of energy, its skeletal counterpart provides the steady, foundational strength for long-term prosperity. Bone meal is a classic organic fertilizer for one simple reason: it's packed with phosphorus, typically around 15%, and calcium. Phosphorus is the P in the NPK ratio, and it's essential for energy transfer within the plant. This translates to the development of strong, extensive root systems, which are better at foraging for water and nutrients. This means less work for you during dry spells. It's also crucial for flower and fruit production. Without adequate phosphorus, you may get a lovely green plant with very little to harvest. Bone meal is the go-to amendment for root crops and flowering bulbs. When planting onions, carrots, or potatoes, a handful of bone meal worked into the soil below the seed piece or transplant will encourage strong, deep root development. For spring flowering bulbs like tulips and daffodils, bone meal in the planting hole is a tradition that ensures robust blooms. It's important to understand the different forms. Steamed bone meal is the most common. The steaming process makes the phosphorus more readily available than in raw bone meal. The breakdown still relies on soil microbes, so it's a slow-release fertilizer, providing a steady supply of phosphorus over a season or more. Seaweed. Looking for a truly holistic approach to soil health? Then maybe it's time to turn to the ocean. Seaweed, whether kelp, bladderwrack, or other varieties, is not a mere fertilizer, it's a complete soil tonic. It's been nourishing coastal ecosystems for eons, and by bringing it into your garden, you're tapping into an ancient mineral-rich wisdom that terrestrial soils often lack. Seaweed contains a full spectrum of over 60 trace minerals, like zinc, magnesium, iron, and manganese, that act like a multivitamin for your plants, correcting minor deficiencies you might not even know exist. It also contains natural plant growth hormones. We're talking auxins, cytokinins, and gibberellins that stimulate root growth, improve seed germination, and enhance a plant's resistance to stress from drought or frost. For a no-work approach, simply lay whole fronds around your plants as a mulch. They'll break down and feed the soil all season long. The benefits of seaweed are almost too numerous to list. Beyond minerals and hormones, it contains complex carbohydrates called alginates. These compounds improve soil structure by binding soil particles together into crumbly aggregates, which improves aeration and drainage. They also have an incredible ability to hold water, up to 500 times their own weight, acting as a natural reservoir in the soil. A seed soaked in a weak seaweed solution will germinate faster and produce a stronger seedling. It is, without a doubt, one of the most beneficial amendments you can use. Banana skins. The humble banana skin usually slides directly from the breakfast plate into the trash. However, what you're looking at is a powerhouse of potassium in a perfectly biodegradable package. For gardeners, it's less like trash and more like a fruit-enhancing power-up. Banana peels are exceptionally rich in potassium, the K in the NPK ratio. Potassium is vital for overall plant vigor, regulating water uptake, and synthesizing proteins and sugars. This directly translates to sweeter, more robustly flavored fruits and more vibrant flowers. There are several clever ways to use banana peels beyond simply tossing them in the compost. To make a quick banana peel tea, chop up 3 to 4 peels and steep them in a quart of water for 2 to 3 days. Use the resulting liquid to water your flowering and fruiting plants. You can also dry the peels in a low oven or in the sun until brittle, then grind them into a powder in a blender. This powder can be sprinkled around the base of plants or mixed into potting soil for a slow-release potassium boost. By using banana peels, you're directly addressing the potassium needs of your plants, which is often the most overlooked macronutrient in homemade fertilizers. Molasses. If you really want to shift from feeding your plants to feeding the soil, molasses is your secret weapon. This sticky, dark syrup is the ultimate caterer for the billions of beneficial bacteria and fungi that do the real work of nourishing your garden. Unsulfured blackstrap molasses is a carbon-rich source of simple sugars and complex carbohydrates. When you add it to your soil, typically by mixing a tablespoon into a gallon of compost tea or water, it provides a rapid, explosive energy source for microbial life. This vibrant ecosystem also helps suppress disease-causing pathogens. It's the ultimate less-work fertilizer. You feed the microbes, and they, in turn, do all the hard work of feeding and protecting your plants. What more could you ask for? Adding just a tablespoon of molasses to a gallon of water and using it to water your garden once a month can have a noticeable effect. The sugar feeds the existing microbes, boosting their activity. This increased microbial activity helps to unlock nutrients bound in the soil organic matter, making them available to plants. It's important to use unsulfured molasses, as sulfur is used as a preservative and can harm soil life. Blackstrap molasses is ideal because it's the most mineral-rich, containing iron, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Think of it as an energy drink for the underground workforce that makes gardening easy. Old wool and yarn scraps. In the quest for a low-work garden, moisture retention is key. Every day you don't have to water is a day saved. And that brings us to old wool sweaters, yarn scraps, or even sheep's wool, a natural protein-based fiber that acts like a tiny sponge, holding onto water right where your plants need it. Natural wool fibers are brilliant for improving soil moisture retention. The science behind wool's magic is its structure. Wool fibers are covered in microscopic scales that trap and hold water molecules. A single fiber can absorb up to 30% of its weight in moisture without feeling wet. When incorporated into soil or used as a liner, it acts as a buffer, absorbing excess water during rains and then slowly releasing it as the soil dries out. This is a game changer for container gardening, where pots can dry out in a matter of hours on a hot day. As they slowly decompose over 1 or 2 seasons, they release nitrogen and sulfur. But their immediate superpower is hydration. You can line hanging baskets with wool scraps to dramatically reduce their watering needs, mix shredded yarn into container potting mixes, or even use an old 100% wool sweater as a biodegradable planter liner. The fibers will wick up and hold moisture, creating a reservoir that releases water to the plant roots during dry, hot periods. It's a fantastic way to upcycle textile waste and build drought resilience. Before using old sweaters, be sure to check the label. You want 100% wool, not a superwash wool, which is treated to be machine washable and loses some of its absorbency, and certainly not an acrylic blend. Spoiled grain or bread. Now let's head back into your kitchen pantry, shall we? That moldy bread, stale crackers, or spoiled bag of flour in the back of your pantry represents untapped energy. While inedible to us, these starchy, carbon-rich materials make quite the feast for the decomposer microbes in your compost pile, turning a slow, cold pile into a hot, fast-working decomposition machine. Adding spoiled grains or bread to your compost is one of the easiest ways to act as a compost catalyst. The simple carbohydrates provide a quick-burn fuel source for the bacteria, causing them to multiply rapidly and generate heat. This thermal boost helps to break down tougher materials faster and can kill weed seeds and pathogens. Just break or scatter the material into your compost bin and mix it in lightly with some soil or finished compost to introduce the right microbes. It's quite straightforward. You'd be killing 2 birds with a single stone, reducing food waste and accelerating the creation of rich, finished compost for your garden. However, there is a major caveat. Every gardener's furry nemesis, rodents. Bread and grains are a prime attractant for mice and rats. To avoid turning your compost into a rodent buffet, take a few precautions. First, bury the bread or grain deep in the center of a hot compost pile where the heat will be greatest and the smell will be contained. Second, avoid adding large quantities at once. A few slices of bread or a cup of flour is fine. An entire moldy loaf should be added over time. Third, you can use an enclosed compost system like a tumbler, which is more rodent-proof. Bread feeds the compost, but our next item is a pure mineral that addresses a very specific plant need instantly, without any decomposition required. Epsom salt. Sometimes a plant needs a specific nutrient, and it needs it immediately. Epsom salt is not actually salt, but magnesium sulfate, a highly soluble mineral compound that provides 2 critical elements in a form plants can absorb almost immediately. It's the garden equivalent of an emergency vitamin shot. Magnesium is the central core of the chlorophyll molecule, which is essential for photosynthesis. Sulfur is a key component of amino acids and vitamins. A foliar spray of Epsom salt, a single tablespoon per gallon of water, can green up plants like tomatoes, peppers, and roses within days. It's a simple, targeted, and incredibly effective solution for a common nutrient deficiency, ensuring your plants stay a vibrant, photosynthesizing green. The key to using Epsom salt is diagnosis and targeted application. It is not a general-purpose fertilizer. Symptoms of magnesium deficiency include intervenal chlorosis, yellowing between the veins of older leaves while the veins themselves remain green. Soils that are very acidic, sandy, or high in potassium and calcium can often be deficient in magnesium. For most gardeners, having a box of Epsom salt on hand is like having a first aid kit for the garden, ready to address a specific, common ailment quickly and effectively. Aquarium water. Here's a fertilizer option that's going to sound completely bogus. If you maintain a freshwater aquarium, you are performing weekly water changes on a miniature, nutrient-rich ecosystem. But do you know that water you're about to pour down the drain is teeming with the very same beneficial bacteria and soluble nutrients that expensive bottled fertilizers try to replicate? This entire time, you've been pouring actual garden nutrients down the drain. Aquarium water is a complete, gentle, and immediately available liquid fertilizer. It contains nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium from fish waste and decomposing food, along with a host of beneficial microbes that help colonize your soil. Simply use it to water your container plants, houseplants, or garden beds. The magic of aquarium water lies in the nitrogen cycle. Fish waste is largely ammonia. In a healthy tank, beneficial nitrifying bacteria convert that ammonia first into nitrites and then into nitrates, which is the form of nitrogen most easily used by plants. So, when you pour out your old tank water, you're pouring out a solution of nitrates, along with phosphorus from uneaten food and potassium and other minerals that have dissolved from the rocks and substrate. It's a perfectly balanced, pre-digested fertilizer. Just fill your watering can from the tank during your regular water change and watch your plants thrive. It's the perfect synergy between two hobbies. Worm castings. To call worm castings merely worm poop is a grave disservice. They are the thoroughly digested, microbially enhanced, perfect end product of nature's most efficient composting system. The magic of worm castings isn't just in their balanced NPK, which is mild and won't burn plants, but in the rich ecosystem they contain. They are loaded with beneficial microbes, enzymes, and plant growth hormones. Let's dive into the why behind the wonder. As organic matter passes through a worm's gut, it is inoculated with a massive diversity of bacteria and fungi. The resulting castings are surrounded by a mucus layer called a peristome, which helps the nutrients stick to soil particles instead of washing away. This makes the nutrients in worm castings highly bioavailable, but also slow release. They are also rich in humic and fulvic acids, which are powerful natural chelators. These acids bind to micronutrients, making them easier for plants to absorb. Furthermore, the microbial life in castings helps to suppress soil-borne diseases like damping off and root rot. By setting up a simple worm bin, you can turn your kitchen scraps into this incredible resource year-round, drastically reducing your need for any other fertilizers. They are, quite simply, the single best soil amendment you can add to any garden, and producing them yourself is free, easy, and incredibly rewarding. Cardboard and newspaper. Tilling and weeding are two of the most back-breaking chores in the garden. What if you could eliminate both in a single stroke of gardening genius? The secret lies in a technique called sheet mulching, and the foundational ingredients are probably in your recycling bin or right in the center of your dining table. Layers of plain cardboard or newspaper with all tape, labels, and glossy ink removed create a physical light-blocking barrier that smothers grass and weeds beneath it. They are carbon-rich materials that, as they break down, attract earthworms and feed the soil fungi. To implement this no-work strategy, simply lay the cardboard or thick layers of newspaper directly over your lawn or weedy bed, wet it down thoroughly to keep it in place, and then cover it with a thick layer of a green mulch like straw, grass clippings, or wood chips. The weeds die, the earthworms till the soil for you, and in one season you have a rich, ready-to-plant bed without ever turning a sod. This method builds soil from the top down, just like in a natural ecosystem. It preserves the delicate soil structure and fungal networks that tilling destroys. It's perfect for starting a new garden bed with minimal effort. You can even plant right away by cutting holes in the cardboard for transplants like tomatoes and squash. This one technique can save you dozens of hours of backbreaking labor and results in healthier, more resilient soil. Coffee grounds. For many of us, the day doesn't start until we've brewed a pot of coffee. That daily ritual produces a steady stream of used grounds that you might not have realized are far too valuable to trash. These damp, nitrogen-rich granules are a triple-threat amendment for the savvy, low-work gardener. Used coffee grounds are a mild source of nitrogen, about 2%, making them a fantastic green material for your compost pile. But their real value for some gardeners is their slight acidity, which means they are a perfect free soil amendment for acid-loving plants like blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, and camellias. Their real power is in their texture and nitrogen content. They are a wonderful, free, brown material that actually acts as a green in the compost pile. They help to create air pockets in the pile, improving aeration. You can also use them as a surface mulch directly in the garden. A thin layer around plants will help suppress weeds and slowly release nitrogen. A thick layer can form a crust that repels water, so use them sparingly. Coffee perks up the garden in the morning, but our next item is a relaxing tea, literally, that can soothe and protect your most vulnerable plants. Chamomile tea. In the delicate world of seedlings, a mysterious fungal disease called damping off can wipe out a whole tray of promising plants like that. Instead of reaching for a chemical fungicide, the solution might be in your tea cupboard in the form of a gentle, fragrant herb known for its soothing properties. Chamomile tea possesses mild natural antifungal and antibacterial properties. A weak, cooled brew made from standard chamomile tea bags can be used as a preventative spray for seedlings. Mist the soil surface and the tiny stems every few days. This creates an environment that is less hospitable to the fungi that cause damping off, giving your seedlings a strong, healthy start without any harsh chemicals. The active compounds in chamomile are thought to be various terpenoids and flavonoids, which have been shown to inhibit the growth of certain fungi, including those in the Pythium and Rhizoctonia genera, which are common causes of damping off. It's a simple, cheap, and utterly natural way to improve your germination success rate. Yet another perfect example of using a gentle, food-safe remedy to solve a common and frustrating gardening problem. Autumn leaves. When autumn arrives, most people see a blanket of leaves as a chore to be raked and bagged. A gardener, however, sees a literal falling of wealth from the trees. A free, abundant resource that is the primary building block of the world's most fertile soils, the forest floor. Leaves are primarily carbon, and when left to decompose, they create leaf mold, a dark, crumbly, fungal-rich substance that is a superb soil conditioner. Leaf mold is exceptional at retaining moisture and improving soil structure. Simply pile leaves into a wire bin or stuff them into black garbage bags, moisten them, and wait. In 1 to 2 years, you'll have a fantastic mulch, seed-starting mix ingredient, or soil amendment that cost you nothing but a bit of patience. Making leaf mold is the ultimate slow gardening practice. It can hold 300 to 500% of its own weight in water, making it a drought resilience powerhouse. To speed up the process, shred the leaves by running over them with a lawnmower before piling them up. Keep the pile moist, like a wrung-out sponge. If using bags, punch a few air holes in them. In 6 to 18 months, you'll have a dark, earthy-smelling, crumbly material that is magic for your garden. Mix it into vegetable beds, use it as a mulch around perennials, or sieve it and use it to make your own potting mix. It's the simplest and most effective way to build long-term soil health for free. Aspirin water. Just like people, plants have immune systems, and sometimes they need a little boost. Surprisingly, a common medicine found in nearly every bathroom cabinet can trigger a plant's natural defense mechanisms, helping them to better resist diseases and environmental stresses. Research has shown that salicylic acid, the active component in aspirin, can activate a plant's systemic acquired resistance, SAR. Salicylic acid is a hormone that plants naturally produce in tiny amounts when under attack. When you spray them with a very dilute solution of aspirin water, it's like sounding the alarm bells for their immune system. The plant doesn't get sick. Instead, it preemptively strengthens its cell walls and produces defensive compounds, making it much harder for diseases to get a foothold. Dissolving 1 uncoated 325 milligrams aspirin in a gallon of water and using it as a foliar spray every 3 to 4 weeks can help plants like tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers fend off blights, mildews, and other common ailments. It's a fascinating intersection of human medicine and plant physiology. Crushed oyster shells. For a truly slow and steady approach to soil amendment, it's hard to beat crushed oyster shells. Oyster shells break down so gradually that they provide a gentle, long-term correction and nutrient release, saving you from having to reapply every year. They are composed mostly of calcium carbonate, making them an excellent long-term liming agent to raise the pH of acidic soils. Their gritty, coarse texture also improves soil drainage and aeration. As they slowly dissolve over several years, they provide a steady, consistent source of calcium, which is vital for preventing blossom end rot and building strong cell walls in plants. The physical grittiness of the crushed shells is a major benefit. In heavy clay soils, they help to create pockets for air and water, improving drainage. In sandy soils, they help to retain moisture and nutrients. Oyster shells are for the long game, but our next item provides an instant green jolt of a vital plant nutrient straight from your lawn. Green grass clippings. The first few lawn mowings of the season generate an abundance of green, nitrogen-rich grass clippings. While leaving them on the lawn is a good practice, directing a portion of this green gold to your garden is even better. A brilliant way to transfer fertility with almost no effort. Fresh grass clippings are very high in nitrogen and, when used correctly, can give your garden a tremendous boost. The secret to using grass clippings is moisture and thickness. A thick, wet layer will compact, exclude air, and decompose anaerobically, creating a slimy, smelly mess that can harm plant roots. A thin layer, however, can be used as a surface mulch around established plants like corn and squash, where it will feed the soil and suppress weeds as it breaks down. You can also till them directly into a vacant garden bed as a green manure to add organic matter and nutrients quickly. For a grass tea, you can steep a bag of clippings in a bucket of water for a few days. The resulting liquid is a potent, high-nitrogen fertilizer. Wooden matchsticks. For a tiny targeted nutrient boost for your houseplants, especially those that are looking a little pale and sad, the solution might be hiding in a box of matches at the back of your junk drawer. This is a targeted micro-amendment. The head of a standard wooden match contains a small amount of sulfur, a vital secondary nutrient for plants, along with potassium chlorate and phosphorus. By simply pushing 5 or 6 matchsticks, head down, into the soil around the edge of a pot, you create a slow-release system. Each time you water, a minuscule amount of sulfur and other minerals leaches into the soil, correcting minor deficiencies. Meanwhile, the wooden stick itself will slowly decompose, adding a tiny bit of organic matter. It's a charming, low-cost, and surprisingly effective way to give a small potted plant a little pick-me-up. While not a solution for a severe deficiency, the matchstick method provides a steady, microdose of sulfur that can help correct minor issues and keep a houseplant healthy. This isn't a fertilizer for the vegetable garden, but for a single, cherished houseplant. It's a wonderfully simple and almost free remedy that has stood the test of time. The common thread running through all of these is simple. Feed the soil, not just the plant. By building a rich, living soil, you create a resilient ecosystem that does most of the work for you. If you learned something today, hit that like and subscribe button and make sure you watch the next one.